Here we are again. Welcome to another Big Ten Championship edition of the Wolverine.com postgame show here on the Wolverine.com YouTube. Sorry, we're a little bit delayed tonight. I made my way up from the field, actually took this game in from the field with a photo pass. So it took me a little extra time to get up after the stuff at the podium down there. But Ryan, Michigan's a Big Ten champion again. And I'll start out by saying this because we'll get into the game stuff. Last year was euphoria. This year was business. This is another check off the box. They did not play their cleanest game today. They did not play their best football game. But at the end of the game, it looked like all of these have all season long, where it's hammer away, pull away late. We will talk about the college football playoff implications. I think the dust has probably settled on that before this game even started. But Ryan, to get things going, actually, we'll start with Shane Johnson's 1999 super chat starting us off tonight. Feel free to use the donate feature below if you want to move yourself to the front of the line. Shane says, so proud of Michigan, first back-to-back since 91-92, first 13-win season ever, just incredible. Bought my first row Fiesta Bowl end zone seats on Monday. If we don't play TCU, the committee is a crooked farce. See you boys in Glendale New Year's Eve. Ryan, snap thoughts on the contest, on the game.
Just more validation that Jim Harbaugh has turned this program into something that's elite. To have a flash in a pan one year is something, but to lose both coordinators, to lose 2 first-round draft picks on the edges, to have to replace new quarterback making a decision of a new quarterback taking the place of the former Big Ten champion quarterback, and come out and repeat as Big Ten champions. I mean, this program is at a pinnacle that it has not been at since the induction of the college football playoff. And you got to be excited about where we're at and winning 13 games for the first time in program history. Excited about the college football playoff and controlling what we can control. And I agree with you. One thing that I took away from this game was the business-like demeanor of the football team. And you being on the sidelines, I feel like you probably have even more of a pulse on that. But this team seemed to be there, and it wasn't new for them. Purdue, it was new. You know, it was enamoring, and there was all the lights, and there was this big stage. But for Michigan, it was, yeah, we're supposed to be here. Yes, we're supposed to win. We're going to handle business and move on because we have bigger fish to fry. And for us to be in that position in the Big Ten championship, considering where we were 2 years ago, what a testament to Harbaugh and what he's been able to do.
$4.99 super chat here from Cameron Stokes, who asks, does Harbaugh not like interviews? Usually when we do super chats, you get a little bit of a spotlight, but I'll just give you a simple answer. No, he's usually pretty quick to defer. And I think that's the type of coach he is. I mean, this group is so, I've never seen a group of guys so, clenched and so attached at the hip. Even Donovan Edwards gets named player of the game, and he's up there on the podium, not having his moment, not puffing his chest out. He's shouting out Blake Corum, who is sitting in a hospital bed in LA right now after surgery the other day. So this is, they defer to each other. They pick up each other. They support each other. That's kind of what we've seen from them all season long. And Jim has a way of, getting in his media or his mandated media appearances, but then quickly deferring to someone else. He's a pretty good point guard and a former quarterback in that regard. But we'll go to this one from Schaub fan here, who says, this Big Ten championship game felt a lot different than last year. Rather than the end goal, this year it felt like a pit stop on the way to something greater. I think we just led with that. Ryan, do you want to elaborate on that one a little bit more?
No, I agree. I mean, it is a travesty that Michigan, as of 2021, had not seen Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship. And I think that having that unfamiliarity with the national or the conference championship and what that entails and the confetti falling down, all that can feel like a conclusion to your season. And I don't think Michigan necessarily fell into that trap. Michigan was outmatched versus Georgia last year. I think we all can agree on that. But this team specifically, I feel like the leadership of this team is not allowing them to dwell on, okay, we've done this before. And if you've done it before, then we want to go to the next peak and climb the next mountain. And the next mountain is advancing in the college football playoffs. I honestly don't even know, because of how well this team is managed and how good their leadership is, if they're focused on the national championship. Your first goal is to win a college football playoff game, because that's never happened before either. And I truly think that the leadership of this team is going to have them focused on that, and you'll see another business-like approach to the first college football playoff game, whatever that happens to be.
Yeah, and I think first and foremost, I mean, it's technically Sunday now, but in 27 days, you're going to play another football game, probably in Glendale, probably against TCU. We'll see. Outside shout out Ohio State. I think the playoff field is pretty much set now. Alabama's not getting it. Let's just put the kibosh on that right now. Chief among the priorities is getting healthy. Mike Morris did not play tonight. Obviously, Blake Corum's not there. Donovan Edwards played and played well again, but he's got the broken bone in his hand. So health is going to be paramount. And you want to, last year it seemed like there was just some momentum lost, just because I think there was just so much euphoria and so much of a release from beating Ohio State, winning in a Big Ten title. And this year it feels like I think these guys are going to be chomping at the bit to get after it. Whereas last year kind of felt like at times they were just kind of happy to be there. So I'm with Shab Fam on that. I'm with you on that, Ryan. Darren Graham asked, actually, sorry, Darren, we're going to put a pin in that. Barry Eastbrush says, $10 super chat. How does Michigan stack up with TCU? And who on the staff is most likely to leave in the offseason? To address that first one, I'll say success breeds success. As Michigan continues to climb this ladder, there are going to be guys that take jobs elsewhere. That's how it works. And it's tough to come up with names right now. I mean, you'll hear Mike Hart, you'll hear Sharon Moore. I don't think anyone's going to leave for a lateral move. That's all I can really say on that. How does Michigan stack up with TCU? I mean, TCU's got, first and foremost, that lucky rabbit's foot. It ran out on them a bit on Saturday, but even then, to even find a way to crawl back into that game against Kansas State, I was impressed by that, even in the loss. So, Ryan, I don't know how much TCU football you've watched this year, but just your early thoughts, if that's the matchup it winds up being.
So, yeah, I watched them today. I've watched them in bits and pieces throughout the season. And I see TCU as a very similar team to Purdue. And I think that always, with the bowl game, you've got the 4 weeks to prepare, 5 weeks to prepare. So it does change the preparation a little bit. But I think TCU is very similar to what we just saw out of Purdue, which I think works in our favor. And I also think TCU has not seen a team like Michigan in the style of football, the brand of football that we play. So the other I think factor is that TCU, this will be their first time visiting the college football playoff, and I think that'll be overwhelming. They're coming off of a loss. So I like our matchup versus TCU. I think that's a matchup that we should be favored in. I don't know about how much, but they're going to give us a game. Those guys fight. That's one thing that you can definitely take away from today's game. But they're like Purdue, but just like Adam Shepardson saying, they have that dynamic quarterback that can take off and make some plays with his legs and seems to make good decisions. So Purdue, excuse me, Purdue I thought was a formidable opponent. I think TCU will be more formidable, but I see us being favored, and I see us being able to play our brand of football against them, which will work in our favor.
I'll go back to Cameron Stokes here with a $4.99 super chat. Will Johnson has ascended very quick. He probably needs to tackle better, but overall, his coverage skills are elite. He got better so fast. He's a 5-star. I'm not surprised by anything we've seen out of him. He's got the length. He's got the athleticism. He's a former wide receiver, so he knows how to track the football. Full disclosure, I put him in as my vote for the Big Ten championship game player of the game, the MVP, which ultimately went to Donovan Edwards. But Will Johnson, it just seems like every time he steps foot on a football field, he takes a step forward, and there's even just so much more room to grow. But he's already, I'll say it, he's Michigan's best cornerback.
He's challenging DJ Turner. I think DJ Turner gets a lot of respect. One of the things that's tough at corner is when you're so good at corner, no one gives you any opportunity to demonstrate how good you are. And DJ Turner, I think, gets avoided a lot in different offensive playbooks and what their approach is going to be. But Will Johnson, the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be. I mean, he's a true freshman. Game 12, he should be better than game 2. And game 6, he should be better than game 4. And you're seeing the development of this player right before your eyes. And he's going to be a tremendous player as he gets older. We were talking, the group chat was obviously live today, and we were talking about freshman corners that have been as impactful or made the plays that Will Johnson has made. And a lot of us just had question mark emojis because the way he's been able, especially this game, to impact games recently. He's going to be a stud.
Yes, he will. And Tommy B has another question about the running back position. Tommy B with a $2 super chat says, is CJ Stokes injured? I thought he would be the second running back. I was kind of surprised by that too. Got a steady dose of Donovan Edwards, 25 carries, 185 yards. Khalil Mullings, one of the heroes of last week's game with the jump pass, comes out 8 carries, 26 yards, 2 touchdowns. Looks like they have a short yardage back. I mean, I thought he played really well. Didn't see Stokes, didn't see Isaiah Gash, or who am I missing? Tavier Dunlap. So, yeah, it was pretty bare bones backfield, but I'm not sure if he's injured or what's going on. So, yeah, not sure what more I can give you on that one. Let's go to Juice's Ghost asked about where's Andrew Anthony and why no Stokes or Gash tonight. Talked about the running backs there. Not sure about Andrew Anthony. We have been waiting all season for him to step up and make a play, and he hasn't enough. So if you're going to run out there with the 3 guys that they have been, Ronnie Bell, Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, that's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. Jacob Tanner has a question for you, Brian. Are you chugging another beer tonight to end the show? It's a little late for that, maybe.
It's already the morning. I've got a 15-month-old in the room next to me, so she's going to be up at 7 regardless of what happened tonight. So, no, I'm going to bed. I might drink some extra electrolytes just to be prepared for her in the morning, but that's about the end of it.
Chuck Brewer asks, not a perfect game. And also, guys, the queue is wide open right now. Feel free to hop in. Not a perfect game, but you have to feel more confident in the passing game after – and JJ after tonight, outside of his one bad decision interception. Yeah, they didn't lean on him a ton. 11 for 17, 161 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think on his 3 touchdowns, on the money. His interception was a hero ball play that we haven't seen him make since the Maryland game, ? I don't know about Penn State, maybe, but I know it was his first interception since Penn State. But thoughts on the quarterback play they're getting? I mean, I know it's not the eye-popping stuff from last week, but I think you can make the argument maybe JJ's best 2 games of the season back-to-back weeks.
What a stat line. I mean, I saw the box score and I did one of the double takes. I refreshed my window because we completed 11 passes. We attempted 17. We won the Big Ten championship, and we had 3 passing touchdowns and scored 43 points. Is that what it was? 43 points with 11 completions? Does anyone else scratch their head, or is it just a late night for me? Because to me,
the box score does not match this game at all. It really doesn't.
They struggled, if you want to say that. I don't know that they struggled. I don't even know what adjective to put to it. They got the job done. They went out there. They went out there seeking points. In typical 2022 Michigan fashion, came out in the third quarter and in the first 4 minutes hung 14 points on them and dominated the second half 28-3, 28-6, something like that. It
was 29-9.
29-9. I mean, crazy.
I'm going to rattle off some numbers here for you. Total yards: Purdue 456, Michigan 386. First downs: Purdue 27, Michigan 17. Third downs: Purdue was 9 of 18, Michigan was 6 of 12. Purdue ran 84 plays, Michigan ran 55. Time of possession: Purdue had the ball for almost 34 minutes, Michigan a touch over 26. They barely had the ball in this game, and they scored 43 points. It's so weird. This is, and I know you were on the field for a game this season, so you can kind of back me up on this, Ryan. It's so, it's tough. I'm not going to know a lot. I don't have a lot to bring to the table tonight because my perspective, especially I was in the the end zone most of the time. I just didn't see as much as you normally see high above, but uh, it feels like they played like a C+ football game and still are Big Ten champions. Is that accurate?
I think so. I mean, the reason I think C plus might be a little critical, but I think you're in the right ballpark, is because like we haven't seen in the first half specifically. We ran a lot of zone. Jesse Minter went to a lot of zone, and the Purdue team and offensive coordinator and head coach had a great game plan in a way to target that zone in like hash mark 10 to 12 yard curl route that was there all the time. Whenever they wanted it, they could convert there. And Michigan also had some perimeter plays where we didn't tackle well. In Michigan, typically, when we watch our defense, we make tackles in space, which is kind of a difference maker when it comes to if you're a good defense or a great defense. And defensively, watching a team march the ball on our Michigan team, especially in the second half, they may not have came away with the same amount of points that they did in the first, but they were able to move the ball relatively at will, both halves. And got to credit their quarterback. Purdue's quarterback is a stud.
He was dealing today. Insane.
Yeah, and he doesn't have mobility, so to be a one trick pony is what I'd call him, and to still be able to sit back there and make some of the throws he made. Got to give a lot of credit to him. They have a talented quarterback that made some plays, but no, Michigan did not play a overwhelmingly exciting football game, and still did plenty to win the Big Ten championship. And that's just what a weird, odd position to be in, considering this is our only second appearance, and now we're just waltzing through it, breaking minimal sweat.
Yeah, it's actually kind of alarming walking through Indy the last couple of days, walking into the stadium, being on the field. It was like these people, these Michigan fans, they feel like they're used to being here already, and like who can blame them? This was as business-like a victory as they've had this year, and um, if you're going to judge this Michigan team based on the eyeball test, I think some people will come away unimpressed, but they've won every type of football game this year. They've won a bar fight. They've had to score a bunch of points. They've had to, when Purdue has had upsets against top five teams, usually their wide receivers go off, or at least one does. Charlie Jones had 13 catches for 162 yards, and it was all just like it's all for nothing, pretty much. I mean, red zone defense clamped down. I'm of the opinion that Jeff Broome must have had the 16 and a half with some of the field goals he kicked in the fourth quarter. Just business-like, again, gritty, are things that Jim Harbaugh would call it for sure. Let's go to Cameron Stokes again, who says Mike Steiner still was snubbed from all Big Ten. $2 super chat. I would agree with that. What did you think of how he played tonight? It seemed like it was a bit of a quiet evening, but I could be off on that.
I think so. I think they had a game plan to target Will Johnson and Jamon Green when he was in there. To me, when I was watching, it seemed like they were taking good looks at the defense and what we were in, and then looking to get either Jamon Green or Will Johnson one-on-one with one of their best. And Sanders still, I think the fact that their tight end, their stud tight end ended up with 2 receptions for 10 yards. That's usually a tribute to one, Mike Sanders still, and two, the linebackers in coverage. But the fact that the tight end didn't get going today is a big deal for what our defense did to shut them down. And I think that the other receiver that got going, I don't remember his name, but the other receiver that got going for them, that was what we were willing to give up as long as it wasn't the big play. And again, we've hit Will Johnson already, but he played tremendous. I think DJ Turner is one of the best corners in college football, and Jamon Green in relief, serviceable. There's times where I'm like, oh, come on, but serviceable in his relief role for both those guys.
Absolutely. Let's go to a couple more super chats here. First one from Hexy Ace, who says, our red zone defense disguises our poor 20-yard line to 20-yard line defense. What do you see when teams get into the red zone? What is Michigan doing differently to throw them off and force them to kick field goals?
I think they do a lot better job tightening up. And one of the things that we make you do is make contested catches in our secondary. We talked after the Ohio State game that it was so impressive that we were able to keep them in check. And one of the things that I think that we've done a great job, and it's not necessarily a stat that shows up when you're watching a broadcast, but Michigan, when receivers are catching balls against Michigan and they're catching them, they're making plays, they are contested catches. Our guys have hands in between their hands. They're step for step with them. It's very rare, and I think you saw a little bit of it in the first half, which had me just a little concerned, but it's very rare that someone's making a catch because they're all alone, unless they're at the line of scrimmage or something like that. So I think that Michigan, especially in the red zone, does a really good job of, we don't bust. We have people covered, and you're going to have to make a play better than our guy can make a play to score points. And typically, as far as this season goes, those clamps are tight.
Richard also Brooks, he's calling a shot here. He says thoughts on a potential Ohio State semifinal. I'll start by saying I don't think the committee is going to do that. I think they set a precedent last year with a Georgia-Alabama rematch, setting that up for the title game. I say bring it on. That's kind of I've come around on that. They are a soft football team. They are a finesse football team. By far, if TCU and Georgia and Michigan are in that top three, you've got all three of those teams have, I think, tougher rosters, tougher quarterbacks. It's tough to beat a team twice in a year, but if it winds up being Ohio State at any point, and maybe it's TCU and Ohio State, maybe it's Ohio State and Georgia. I mean, if it's Ohio State and Georgia, and you get to that last Monday night, you are setting up the most satisfying, validating national title that's probably ever been won. That's exciting to me. I know people are annoyed by OSU backing in. Fact of the matter is, there's no one else to put in. I think they're obviously, of what's left, one of the best four teams left in the field. So if that's who it is, you put on the shoulder pads and you go do it again.
I am not going to have a popular opinion here, but I think they're setting up. The only reason I saw Saban on my TV screen today at halftime was because they're trying to sneak Alabama in. It's going to happen. I don't know why I feel this way. I've got this weird suspicion that they're going to validate, oh, they were hurt. They had, 5 games that went to this last possession. Ohio State got blown out at home. It's not what you did, throughout the season. It's what you've done recently. And I think they're going to sneak Bama past Ohio State. But regardless of if that happens or not, if you want to be a national champ, the way it's set up right now, you have to win 2 tough football games. There's no easy first game to get to the national championship. So if it's Ohio State, great. We know who they are. I love knowing my enemy, so let's bring it on. But if it's TCU, I feel good about that. If it's Georgia, I feel good about that just because this team has seen them before. I know Georgia will be favored, but Michigan, at least these guys have experienced what that Georgia team is like, and I don't think they're the same Georgia they were last year, even though I do think they're the best team in college football right now. So you have to win 2 tough games to move and call yourself a national champion. Whoever backs in, gets in, however it happens. But Michigan, to me, has this weird – they talked about it at the post-game presser. It's not culture, Jim Harbaugh said, but it's just love that they have for each other. And whatever you want to call it, the zen, the vibe, the team has this aura about it, and it's about them. It's not about who they play. So they're going to have to win 2 tough games, and I think they're prepared to do that regardless of who the committee selects.
Yep. And to the people who say that the game, Michigan, Ohio State is devalued. Michigan played tonight and Ohio State didn't. Michigan won a Big Ten title tonight and Ohio State didn't. That still matters. So that's where I stand on that.
The game that doesn't matter is the conference championship.
Yeah.
If we're just being honest. I mean,
yeah,
you get a ring, but when it comes to the college football playoff, it doesn't matter anymore because you lose your college football playoff or your conference championship. Does that mean you lose your spot in the college football playoff? We'll see what happens with TCU, but I don't believe they deserve to be punished. They deserve to lose no spots for an overtime loss in their college football playoff. Ohio State definitely doesn't jump them, in my opinion.
Yeah, by the time when these rankings come out tomorrow, it'll be what? They will have lost in overtime to number 8 or something like that. If the argument's 1-loss team versus 1-loss team, then to me, that's that's a data point they have over them. Obviously, there's a bigger body of work. But thanks, Rich, for the question. We'll go to a $4.99 super chat from Cameron Stokes. He says, I'm a little upset that we gave up the fake punt after admitting that we screwed that up last week, but got bailed out. Thoughts on the fake punt, Ryan?
I thought the exact same thing, Cameron. They did the exact same thing that Ohio State did. They just executed it right. And we were aligned actually in a position to stop it. And then someone decided, hey, no, move over. We have too many bodies on this side. And then we opened it up for them. So I had my forehead in my palm and was like, just as frustrated as you were watching that. But at the end of the day, that's one special teams blunder in 13 games of football. They'll be better, and that fake is no longer available, but I was just as frustrated.
I want to shout out Jeff Broome in general. He's always has a bag of tricks, and I just like watching how that guy calls a football game. He calls it like I would play Madden. It's awesome. Shane Johnson with a $2.99 or $1.99 super chat says, Will Johnson is an 18-year-old Charles Woodson clone. I haven't brushed up on my Michigan history in a while. How good was Charles Woodson as a freshman? That's a little before my time, Ryan. I don't know if you have any insight on that, but
all I know from the more seasoned veterans that I'm in contact with is that Charles Woodson, from day one stepping on campus, had this swagger and this attitude and this competitiveness that was recognizable and was just emanating from him. And people recognized it immediately. And if Will Johnson is that guy, then I'm so happy he wears maize and blue, because the leadership and the way that Charles Woodson used to approach practices and weightlifting and stuff like that are things you hear as a player. You know what he can do on the field and what he did on the field and the iconic moments, but what you don't hear about is his day in, day out work ethic that everybody recognized, and that was what made him the leader that he was. So if Will Johnson is anything like Charles Woodson, we are in great shape as Michigan football.
Hutch was about to read my mind. This is a visual bit for those of you who are listening after the fact. You'll have to go to the YouTube video and watch. I want you to comment, Ryan, on this look that Michigan ran out there. From left to right, you have Max Bredesen, Giovanni Elhadi, Trenty Jones, Ryan Hayes, Trevor Keegan, Olu, Zach Sinter, Carson Barnhart. That might be the most Jim Harbaugh Michigan photo I've ever seen.
Well, you got 7 linemen in, and there's only 11 allowed to play. You have to have a quarterback, so that means you got 3 specialists in. Out of those 3 specialists, one of them is a running back. The other 2 are 260-pound tight ends. So you're literally putting everybody on a truck weigh-in scale and going, okay, we weigh 3,000. What do you weigh? And we're going to get our yard. I got nothing wrong with it. It's successful.
Listen to another interesting Red Sox lover wants to talk about the 2-point conversion. Where was that it was tough. That happened right in front of me, but it just all kind of happened so fast. Was that like a swinging gate situation that just never swung back? Like, what was that?
Yeah. So if you didn't see it, which it's not been shown, so you wouldn't have been able to see it, they had their entire offensive line besides the center, and then Donovan Edwards lined up all the way to the boundary. And you've got all these guys on the line of scrimmage. So you might send some coverage guys over there, but realistically, the only person that's eligible is Donovan Edwards. And I think they dedicated too many resources over to that side, the distraction. So then you've got a 3-man game that you can play with McCarthy and then the other 2 receivers, 3 receivers, whatever it was. And they have that schemed up. If there's X amount of players over the center, we run this. If there's not, we throw it out to Donovan, just let him walk it in. And if you've never seen that on film, the odds of you having that covered correctly, not so good.
I can't share it publicly because of broadcasting rights, but I will send you my video of that play. It's something. Cameron Stokes he says, my last super chat for $4.99. Those reviews were way too long. I watched other conference games and their reviews were so quick. Something needs to change. I'm in the press box. I have to make sure nobody from Fox is ready to tackle me. That's a bad broadcast. They went 8 minutes of real time between It was in the first quarter too. They went 8 minutes between snapping plays from scrimmage. What was that? The fact that it's 1 a.m. This game started a little after 8 o'clock, and we're really just kind of they're finally doing press conferences and stuff. And I know celebrations go long. That's a long night, man, and nobody's here for that. Especially with the officiating. Why is it so difficult? These guys are so experienced. Why does it take so long? A lot of these were cut and dry.
I wish I had an answer. I don't know. I actually agree with Cameron Stokes because I watched the USC Utah game, and so many times I was like tipping my hat because the ref was going underneath the hood. 20 seconds, 30 seconds, ran back out to midfield. Here's the call. Let's move on. And I thought, well, that's how review can help this game as long as it's not disruptive and doesn't change the momentum and get people out of rhythm, give defenses breaks that maybe they're not supposed to be getting. But I agree the reviews took way too long. If on the first or second camera angle you don't see something definitive, because that is, to my understanding, is the ruling is what the verbiage is definitive, conclusive, has to be absolute. If you have to watch the replay 4 times, that's not absolute, at least in my opinion. So I agree that these things need to be quickened up, and a lot of times it's disruptive to the flow of the game.
Quick one this is actually from Clayton Safey, who's down at the presser right now. He says Jim Harbaugh just dipped out after 2 questions. JJ McCarthy and Donovan Edwards were there, and he said, I'll let you guys talk to these guys. And apparently he said if he didn't dip out, he was going to get emotional. So interesting. Another Jim Harbaugh deferring to his players. We'll have a teleconference with him with whatever bowl they wind up at sometime tomorrow afternoon. So we will hear from him soon. Nick with a $10 super chat, who says, I would advise Michigan enthusiasts to mute the live game audio and just blast Marvin Gaye in the background whilst enjoying the beautiful football domination before us. Yeah, I guess if that's your cup of tea, although you're done with Fox for the year, but these Fox broadcasts are coming hot and heavy soon with the new TV deal. So I don't know. I see Carson Jansen. I haven't heard a ton of them, but it seems like they've been doing a pretty good job over on the radio end of things. Maybe you bump in on that. Last year I had an issue where my streaming wasn't synced up. It was like 5 minutes behind. So I pretty much listened to the Orange Bowl exclusively on radio because I was stuck at home with the Coco. So yeah, that's an option too, I guess. Nick, thank you for the shout out. We appreciate that. Nick Salden here says, if Alabama gets in, the committee loses the very tiny shred of credibility they have left. I want to pin you down a little bit on this, Ryan. If they sneak Alabama in, do you think it's over TCU or it's over Ohio State?
I think it's over Ohio State. TCU can't come out. TCU stays in, and it's a battle between Ohio State and Alabama. And it's just this sneaking suspicion that I have, because it's not necessarily about are you 1 loss or are you 2 loss. It's a evaluation. They say this all the time, and it never works in its Big Ten team's favor, which is another reason I think this. But it's an evaluation of your entire team, all 12 weeks of your regular season. What were your wins? What were your losses? What was the strength of schedule? And Alabama lost 2 road games, final possession, and both teams were ranked. Ohio State lost a home game as a favorite and got smacked in the last game of the season. So I just think that it's more of a toss-up than people are giving credit to. And on the way of the committee, I feel like they've ruled in the past and decided in the past that Alabama has a much better shot at getting in than Ohio State than people think that they do. Do I think that Ohio State probably deserves it over Alabama? Yes. But do I think Bama has a shot and is not completely written out? Yes, I do think that.
I would hate that. Because all of a sudden we're dealing in hypotheticals and creating criteria for data points that don't exist. But nothing would surprise me at this point. Matt McLean has a $5 super chat here. He says, these freshmen are so legit. Our future is so bright. Yeah, that's been one of the biggest things about this, is that, last year felt sort of like a storybook. Whereas it's sustainable and the window stays open because you have young guys making plays all over the field on both sides of the ball. You can see this young core of Derek Moore, Will Johnson, and Colston Loveland, J.J. McCarthy, Donovan Edwards. These guys have at least another year together, maybe two in a lot of their cases. This team and this program are not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere, and I think that they're gaining momentum. And I think that this last year and then the year before are both great platforms to enhance where we've been recruiting. Because to be honest, Michigan recruiting wise, I think we've been in the top 15. I don't know that we've been in the top 3 or the top 5 over the past 3, 4, 5, 6 years with Harbaugh. And I'm not saying that you have to be the top 2, top 1, top 3, because you need to get guys. I'm a firm believer that you need to get the right guys for your system, and you need guys that are going to uphold the core values of what your program is, whatever those core values may be, and they understand the mission statement of your team. And so I think you can win national championships, conference championships with the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th best recruiting class in the country. But I do think that having the 2nd or 3rd or 4th improves your odds against the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Ohio States that have 5 stars at every position. So I'm very excited about the youth on this team, and I'm very excited about who could potentially be joining them and being the young guys on the J.J. McCarthy senior year team and the Donovan Edwards senior year team, because that's how you build a dynasty that reloads each and every year.
Well, we have a super chat here. I'm going to put a pin in that for a second because we've heard from Mr. J.J. McCarthy, and it's our first Michigan weighing in on this particular topic on a possible rematch with Ohio State. J.J. McCarthy says, this is via our Clayton Safey, please bring it on. It would truly be a blessing if we got a shot to play those boys again. So there you are. Ryan, you see a quote like that. Your immediate reaction to hearing that from your starting quarterback?
It's exactly what the mentality should be. Why should they have any fear of playing a team? I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that it's always harder to beat a team the second time around. Why? You have the confidence that you can beat them. They have a little bit of shookness to them that they lost to you already. I don't necessarily agree that it's always harder to beat a team the second time around. And I think that if you can't control who you get to play, and you get the opportunity to play somebody that you bullied in the last game of the season in their place, I'd love to play them. I know who Ohio State is. I'll take Ohio State over TCU any day just because I know who they are. So I agree with his stance. I love his stance. That's the attitude I want my team to play with.
Yeah, and on the topic of Georgia, J.J. McCarthy also said, I feel like that loss last season drove me so much that this victory tonight doesn't feel like anything. It's just another game in the way of our goals. So we're not sitting here poo-pooing a Big Ten championship, but this team feels the same way. And it feels that way when you watch them play, when you watch them handle their business. There's so much more now. Last year didn't have to be a flash in the pan. They're able to replicate it and now push it forward. This is in every way what this season had the potential to be, and it's not done yet. Bradley Knapp, who waited very patiently, it kind of would have gone hand in hand with the last question, but is Colston Loveland one of the best freshman tight ends we've ever had? Usually at the tight end position, you're seeing a junior or senior. His future is bright here at U of M. Yeah, he's beyond his years. As so many of these freshmen that this program brings in are, tight ends are back in being used at Michigan over the last 2 years, and he has a shot to be the best of any of them, as far as I'm concerned. There's another level for him to go to as well. The way he high pointed that football on the touchdown grab on the opening drive, doesn't get any better than that.
I think he's the best tight end we're going to have at Michigan since Jake Butt, and he might have the ability to surpass him just because of his pass catching ability. And I think you give a lot of credit to Eric All and what he's developed the tight end position into, because these guys are expected to be able to make plays on play action and get you first downs, be good targets in the red zone. But the way our tight ends block, these guys block like they're more impressive to me than a high level fullback. And with their body type, 6'4", 240, 230, 250, somewhere in that range, these guys are the pinnacle block on a lot of the blocking schemes that we have for our run plays, where the offensive line's going one way, the tight end's coming back, and you're going through that hole. And you saw it a lot when they show you the end zone view, that Loveland today was asked to do a lot of the blocking. And as a freshman out there, and you're the key block, and we're comfortable with it over and over and over again, he's going to be a stud. And then he also has that pass catching ability that I think that we're just starting to see the surface and scratch the surface of what he's able to do.
Hutch, we're gonna close out the super chats we have now, and then probably finish things up here. Unless it's last call, pretty much last call at the bar. It is after 1 a.m. here on the East Coast, and we got to keep the ball rolling here. So I want to go to this quick one from Schaub Fam, who says, beat Ohio State again and get Ryan Day fired for $2. He throws that one in there. I don't know if he'll get fired, but again, the possibility of you beat them in your own house last year in crazy weather conditions. Those of you who are listening, I'm using air quotes on the screen. You beat them in their building in ideal weather conditions last week. And to have a chance to play them indoors, where Gene Smith has been crying from the mountaintops that he would love his team to be able to play in the postseason. Again, Ryan, you said it. We know who they are. We know what they have been. So you take your chances there. I'd have no issue with it at all. Tommy B with a $5 super chat. Let's stop hurting teams who lose on championship weekend. This weekend should only determine top four, not who gets in. Field should already be set. Counterpoint, USC stinks and doesn't play defense and doesn't tackle. They played themselves out of the playoff that was just putrid performance. What do you think of championship weekend? Is this one of those things where, why are we even doing this anymore?
Partially. I mean, you think about the Big Ten specifically, and you can probably do the same breakdown through different conferences. But if I'm not mistaken, the Big Ten East champion has won the Big Ten championship since 2014. No one from the West has won it. When that's the case, what do you have to? Michigan had all the risk today against Purdue. Why does Purdue get to even the chance to compete for a Big Ten championship when they've lost 3 games in that same conference, and the team they're playing against has lost 0 games in that conference? Michigan had everything to lose. Purdue had everything to gain. And I think that's the case if you were to go to other conference championships. And it's unfortunate because I like the idea of the conference championship, but it's almost like basketball or baseball or one of these other sports. You have your regular season champion, you have your tournament champion, and then you have your national championship playoff. Because the way that it works out now, for Michigan to go 12-0 in the regular season and then still be, we'll see what happens between Michigan and Purdue. That seems like a farce compared to the rest of the sports in college. And that's just what it is right now.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it sounds weird to say because I just watched a team hoist a trophy and I'll be pulling confetti out of my pockets for weeks, I feel like. But if Michigan had lost this game, what changes? There's no one to surpass them. They probably stay locked in it too. So I'm with you. It is kind of, and it's only going to continue to get that way once we get to 12, which I'm in favor of, by the way. I think that adds more weight to, if a team like Ohio State was always going to get into the playoff, then what happened for them this weekend is that you went from having to host a playoff game to having a first round bye. And that's, no sport that's ever expanded its playoff has, in my opinion, watered down its product. So I think it will get better, but when you're sitting here on a weekend like this, I get it. I get those concerns. So let's go to one from Nick for $9.99, who says, what JJ stated about Ohio State is not a mentality. It's a reality that Ohio State as a program is soft. We all saw it and the boys experienced it. I hope we play Ohio State again. They tap out. Agree? Disagree?
I agree. I mean, they have the rubber stamp on their forehead of finesse, and that stamp remains until they do something to remove it from my eye and the public eye.
Okay. Oh, that's Nick. That's the I'd say that's the $1 million statement. It's a $10 statement, but it carries that much more weight here. So I totally agree with you on that point. This last one, we're gonna go from Loretto, who says, if this is 4.99, first Loretto for 4.99. Thank you so much. If this is slow rolling slash doing NIL right, I'll take it. Other programs are NIL deep and not as in the dance as Michigan is. Yeah, we're going to need a couple more years of data on all of that. There are guys on this roster like, I don't know if there's a JJ McCarthy or a Donovan Edwards type that you bring in the 2024 class or 2025 class, if this is the path that they stay on. But right now, I mean, that will take care of itself if you keep winning and people keep buying in and boosters are throwing money around. And I do think there's a lot of stuff going on with that. Probably longer, something that can be unpacked at a better time than 1:19 a.m. after the Big Ten championship game. But I can say this confidently: what Michigan is doing right now, as a program, as a taking care of the guys that are already on the roster, this is to me the model, and how Michigan has sustained it over the last 2 years has been impressive. So shout out to them for that. I don't know. Do you have any NIL thoughts or I not to be a jerk. It's not something I really feel like talking about tonight.
No, I just would say that I think that the NIL and the transfer portal, the way that those two things have kind of walked hand in hand together, are something that if you don't figure out how to navigate, are going to kind of turn the tide of your program. And I think Clemson's probably a victim of that. I think Bama is experiencing a little bit of that this year, and it's uncharted territory. And I would say let's let the Texas A&Ms and some of the other teams that are diving deep into the NIL, let's see how they pan out, because Texas A&M this year, as soon as they saw some adversity, they caved. And I think it's because all those guys still get their paychecks whether they win or lose. So I don't have a problem with the way we're handling it now. I don't know how you could, considering the results of this season.
All right, well, I think that's a good place for us to end it. Business like Big Ten championship win, as like I said before, the euphoria from last year is not quite there because this is the expectation now. So keep climbing that extra rung on the ladder. Keep pushing. See what happens. You're in the big dance. I think you're going to have a winnable semifinal game, and see if you can't get to January 9th with a healthier football team and maybe an outside shot that, again, not reporting anything, maybe an outside shot that Blake Corum pulls a Willis Reed here, and especially if you play the Buckeyes, how crazy would that be? So, want to shout out Lewis Jewelers really quick, proud partner of the Wolverine, proud partner of Michigan Athletics. They're where Ann Arbor gets engaged, and they have been phenomenal in their support of us throughout the season. Ryan Van Bergen, as always, you get a 4-week break now. We'll see if we're doing a post-game show at dinner time on New Year's Eve, or if we're sitting here as the ball drops talking about what happened. But as always, appreciate your insight and what you bring. I am going to send you the video of the 2-point conversion right after this. But
Please.
yeah, man, no beer chugging tonight, just business. 43-22 winners over Purdue, another Big Ten championship, the first 13-win season in Michigan football history. You've done it. You've surpassed last year in every single way already, and now there's even more meat on the bone to bring another term back. So thank you, Ryan. Thank you, producer Hutch. Thank you guys listening. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel below. We'll have some podcasts coming in the next couple of weeks. Maybe even the two of us will hop on at some point and see if we can. We invoked his name earlier, but I feel like we're overdue for a Jake Butt conversation, the two of us. So that would be nice to do at some point. I'm just thinking out loud here. The brain fog is set in, but thank you guys, and we'll talk to you again soon.